All right, today we're diving into a procedure that's, well, it's surrounded by a lot of myths and a ton of misconceptions. We're talking about penile lengthening. We're going to break down the clinical facts, what this surgery is really all about, and just as importantly, what it can and can't do.
So, get this. This is probably the most surprising thing you'll hear about it. The surgery itself, it might only be a couple of hours. But the success of the whole thing, well, that depends entirely on months of mandatory work after the operation. This is absolutely not a quick fix, and you really need to understand that post-op part. It is critical.
So, first things first, why would someone even consider this? The reasons are actually a lot more varied than you might imagine. It's a mix of psychological and sometimes even functional concerns.
When you look at the actual reasons, you see a whole range of things going on. Yeah, a big one is the desire for more length when flaccid, which is often tied to body image stuff. But then you have these real functional issues, like a buried penis that can make it tough to urinate standing up, or just that deep sense of embarrassment in places like a locker room.
Okay, and let's get this perfectly clear right from the start. This surgery is specifically designed to increase the apparent flaccid length. That's it. It is not a fix for erectile dysfunction, it's not going to correct curvature, and the source says its effect on erect length is super variable, if there's any effect at all. Managing expectations here is, well, it's everything.
All right, so let's get into the how. How does this surgery actually create a change in length? Turns out, it all comes down to releasing one very specific piece of our anatomy.
So, let me introduce you to the suspensory ligament. The best way to think about it is like a biological anchor. See, a pretty big part of the penis is actually inside your body, and it's anchored to the pubic bone by this tough, fibrous ligament. It holds everything in place. The entire surgery is based on messing with this anchor.
The surgical process itself is pretty straightforward. First, an incision is made up in the pubic area. Then, the surgeon goes in and carefully divides that suspensory ligament. They basically cut the anchor. What this does is it allows the internal part of the shaft to slide forward, so it becomes external, and that's how you get that increase in visible length. Then, they use a special skin flap technique to cover up that new space and, this is important, to stop it from pulling back to where it started while it's healing.
And here it is. The number everyone's probably wondering about. What are we actually talking about in terms of results? The source material is clear. The typical increase in flaccid length is somewhere between 1 and 3 centimeters. So, not a massive change, but for the right person, it can be a pretty meaningful one.
And now we get to what is, honestly, probably the single most critical part of this whole thing, the recovery. And I'm not just talking about letting an incision heal. This is an active, demanding, and completely non-negotiable part of the treatment.
This timeline? Wow. It really paints a picture of the commitment we're talking about. You might be back at your desk in a week, sure, but the real work is just starting. No sexual activity for 6 weeks. And look at this. For 3 to 6 months, you have to use a traction device every single day for the surgery to even work. You don't even see the final result for more than half a year. And let's be absolutely crystal clear on this. The source says using that traction device is mandatory. Why? Well, your body's natural response to healing is to create scar tissue. If you don't use traction, that scar tissue can tighten up and pull everything right back to where it was, completely erasing the results of the surgery. So the bottom line is simple. No traction, no result. Period.
So, okay, knowing that level of commitment is required, you have to start weighing the potential gain against the potential risks. It's time for a reality check on the trade-offs here.
On one hand, you've got the potential gain, that 1 to 3 centimeters of added apparent flaccid length. But on the other hand, you've got the common risks. Scarring in the pubic area, that's going to happen. And because you've released that anchoring ligament, the erection angle is going to be lower. It'll point more downwards. Swelling, bruising, some temporary numbness, that's all just part of the normal healing process.
And it doesn't stop with just the common side effects. There are some less common but definitely more serious risks to think about. You could have a loss of stability during an erection. The final cosmetic result might not be what you hoped for. In really rare cases, erectile rigidity could get worse. And, as we've said, and this is huge, if you don't follow that traction plan, the scar tissue can actually cause a shortening of the penis.
So, all of this, it all funnels down to one single essential question. When you think about the modest gains, the very real risks, and that incredibly demanding recovery, who is actually a good candidate for this procedure?
The source material gives a very, very direct answer here.
The ideal person for this is someone who has been carefully selected, who has totally realistic expectations about that 1 to 3 centimeter gain, and, here's the most important part, who is fully 100% prepared to commit to those months of mandatory traction therapy. It's got to be the right mindset combined with the right dedication.
And that kind of leaves us with the final thought, doesn't it? This is not some simple cosmetic touch-up. It's a serious surgical procedure with a really tough follow-up. It makes you balance what a physical change is worth against a massive personal commitment. So for that one carefully selected person, is that commitment worth the change? That really is the ultimate question.